Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:40 p.m. and a quorum of the members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby? Here. Mr. David?
Here.
Mr. Kugler?
Here.
Mr. Kurth?
Here.
Ms. Manley?
Here.
Mr. Nickerson? Ms. Wondercheck?
Here.
Mr. Nickerson did inform me that he would not be present this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session, please.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851 C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider C, employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the Board of Education has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And F, financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personal problems, or the investigations of charges against specific persons which, if discussed in public, would likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations. The board will discuss and possibly take action on A, the approval of closed session minutes of September 25th, 2017, B, employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Kurth, second by Mr. Kugler to adjourn to closed session. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kurth?
Yes.
Mr. Kugler? Yes. Ms. Crosby?
Yes.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Ms. Manley?
Yes.
Ms. Wondercheck?
Yes.
We will adjourn to closed session and we will return approximately 7 p.m. Thank you.
outside on a night like this. You just can't hide, cause it's time to live it up. So come on and raise your cup. If we talk about memories, yeah, we gonna make them. Talk about rules, you know we're gonna break them. When the lights come on, everybody's screaming, lighters in the sky, and everybody's singing every word to every song of the girl that's taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody's feeling a hallelujah high from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, the drink that we're drinking, the smoke that we're smoking, the party we throw, it's going all night long. When the lights come on, when the lights come on. Yeah, we all the same cause we thinking the same thing. We on the same page cause we sipping the same drink. Here's a little something to thank y'all for showing up. Dean and the boys are about to blow it up. When the lights come on, everybody's screaming, lighters in the sky, and everybody's singing every word to every song of the girl that's taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody's feeling a hallelujah high from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, the drink that we're drinking, the smoke that we're smoking, the party we throw, it's going all night long. When the lights come on, when the lights come on, the buzz boiling up, it's going all night long. When the lights come on.
Somebody's truck in a farmer's field. No trespass sign. Truck and time to kill. Nobody's gonna get hurt. So what's the big deal? Somebody's truck in a farmer's field. Somebody there sitting on ice after a long hard day. Makes it taste just right on that drop tailgate on a summer night. Somebody there sitting on ice, and somebody girl in a red sundress with an ice cold beer pressed against her lips. In that farmer's field will make a boy a mess. Somebody girl in a red sundress, and the somebody kiss that's gonna lead to more on that drop tailgate back behind the corn. The most natural thing you ever felt before. The somebody kiss that's gonna lead to more. Girl in a red sundress with a nice cold beer to her lips, begging for another kiss. And there's somebody, you and me, and the birds and the bees, and Lord have mercy, it's a beautiful thing. Ain't nothing about it, love. Somebody truck, somebody creek, around 2 a.m. After a few of those beers, you wanna dive on in. Don't need no clothes to just hang them on a limb. There's somebody creek around 2 a.m. And there's
barbed wire fence carving on a hillside, cutting holes in the midday sun, like a postcard framed in a windshield covered in dust. I love the rhythm of an old gray blacktop, 33's just whistling by. Steer the wheel one-handed on a two-lane, hugging that line. I got the windows down, no one else around, singing. Freedom is the miles I'm rolling on. Out here cruising to a back road song. I feel like a melody, like a radio dial and it's strong. Come on, sing along to my back road song. I hit the brakes for an old New Holland, hammer down and pass them on up. The breeze smells like a summertime hayfield's just been cut. I got the windows down, way out of town, singing. Freedom is the miles I'm rolling on. Out here cruising to a back road song. I feel like a melody, like a radio dial and it's strong. Come on, sing along to my back road song. The only way today could get better, girl, what I'm thinking is I can pick you up, you slide in this truck, I can hear you singing. Ooh, let me hear you singing. Freedom is the miles we're rolling on. Out here cruising to a back road song. I feel the wheels like a melody, like a radio dial and it's strong. Come on, sing along to my back road song. Come on, sing along to my back road song. This is my back road song. Feel the rhythm of it. This is my back road song. Feel the rhythm of it. Feel the rhythm of it. Come on, sing along. Feel the rhythm of it. To my back road song. Feel the rhythm of it.
The preacher man says it's the end of time, and the Mississippi River, she's a going dry. The preacher man says it's the end of time, and the Mississippi River, the interest is up and the stock market's down, and you're only getting mugged if you go downtown. I live back in the woods, you see, a woman and the kids and the dogs and me. I got a shotgun, a rifle, and a four-wheel drive, and a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. Country boy can survive. I can plow a field all day long. I can catch catfish from dusk till dawn. Make our own whiskey and our own smoke too. Ain't too many things these old boys can't do. Good old tomatoes and homemade wine, and country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. from the West Virginia coal mines and the Rocky Mountains and the western skies. And we can skin a buck, we can run a trot line, and a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. I had a good friend in New York City. He never called me by my name, just Hillbilly. My grandpa taught me how to live off the land, and his taught him to be a businessman. He used to send me pictures of the Broadway nights, and I'd send him some homemade wine. A man with a switchblade knife. For $43, my friend lost his life. I'd love to spit some beach nut in that dude's eyes and shoot him with my old 45, cause a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. You can't make a run, 'cause we're the most boys raised on shotgun. We say great, we say ma'am, if you ain't into that, don't give a damn. We're from North California and South Alabama and little towns all around this land. Country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. Country boy can survive. Country folks can survive.
She's a very sweet person. I'm sure she'll love it.
Have you decided where you're going next year?
I'm really planning on going to Madison next year.
The board is now returning to open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join together in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Got windy in here.
I guess. And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by posting the agenda at each district school, the district office, and the city library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and to the New Berlin Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. At this time, we have no privilege of the floor requests, nor do we have a president's message. So we will start with administrative team reports, beginning with the superintendent's update.
Yeah, so we'll actually defer our reports till the regular agenda as we have a student services report update as well as our employment services update. So we'll have those updates during the agenda.
Great, thank you. Student representative update, Nirali.
The month of October and sort of also with September, I want to start off with Speaker Paul Ryan's visit, which took place on September 18th. And so basically Speaker Ryan was able to come to the district over at Eisenhower, and he was able to be guided by students and toured the CNA labs, and he was able to speak with the engineering and tech now students that we have in the district. And so he was also able to learn more about our post-secondary options that we offer at the School District of New Berlin. And also we had Senator Ron Johnson's visit on September 29th. And so he first gave advice to students about like drug abuse and stuff like that. And then he also opened the floor up to questions, which I personally thought was very unique. And so there were a lot of questions regarding, drug abuse, healthcare, and education. And a lot of articles also covered this event, which was really cool for the students to see, because I saw some of my friends in the articles, and I also was able to see myself in the article as well. So it was a really cool opportunity overall. And so personally, having these experiences gave me a better understanding of how connections between the government and the community work and how both sides are able to benefit. And so basically, I just want to thank you guys for making this such a great school district and giving us these opportunities as students. And so also happening in the school, so with Spanish Honor Society, we're doing donations for Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria. And so each Spanish and French class is collecting cash donations. And so we're basically donating all of that money that we have to a GoFundMe page called Doctoras Boricuas. And so we donate money to Miami, and then depending on the region, they send out that money to the different regions in Puerto Rico depending on what they need. And so basically they'll use our money that we donated to help buy medications and medical supplies because they're really lacking in that region. And so what's really cool to see is that our goal was $654, but in the span of 2 days, we actually raised over $1,000. And so we are very surprised, and we are incredibly proud of New Berlin West and its community. And additionally, I think last month it was with the Post-it notes. So the Post-it project, I don't know if you guys remember it from last year, but it continued on this year, which is really cool to see. And so basically each locker and each door in the building, each teacher's door in the building, each window had a Post-it with a positive note on it. And if you go around the school right now, even after 3 to 4 weeks, you'll see some of the Post-its still up, which is really great to see. And so it was honestly incredible. And so with the art club, or with the art classes, annually they do like an empty bowls project. And so basically students and teachers, they make ceramic works of art, ceramic bowls, and then they donate it to Milwaukee, where an event is held, and the guests are able to use those bowls and have soup and other refreshments, and basically all of the profits that are made at this event are then donated to the local community for people who are in need of food. And so basically in the cafeteria, we have a lot of projects going on. So one of the projects is called Throwing Kindness Around Like Confetti. And so it was organized by Senorita Thompson, Miss Wood, and Miss Upton. And so basically at the beginning of the year in advisory, we wrote down a positive goal we wanted to work towards. And so we put it on a Post-it note, and then we have this huge poster outside of the cafeteria where you can see everybody's goals. So there's teachers' goals up there, staff members, students, everyone's goals are up there. And so basically I talked to Senorita Thompson, and she said what really inspired her was that she saw other teachers posting about the project on Twitter and on a Spanish teachers Facebook group. So she thought it would be a really cool idea to start out the year on a positive note. And so also with art, Mrs. Klug organized a feather project. So this is right next to the confetti project. And so basically, Mrs. Klug thought it would be a good way to introduce her art classes on the first day of school. And so each student was able to design and put up a feather on the wing template that you'll see. And so basically, students felt like they were a part of this bigger project and idea. And the intent was, so if somebody was standing in front of the wings, it looked like they were like wearing those wings. And so it was a really neat project that they had. And so last but not least, this previous week was homecoming week. So we had Spirit Days, we had the annual bonfire, the pep rally, the game, and the dance. And so I just want to once again congratulate the homecoming queen and homecoming king. So homecoming queen was Paige Pelican, and the king was Josh Pike. And so basically, Salu, it's a new organization at West, they started to have these new traditions going on. And so basically this past Friday, the homecoming football game, a lot of teachers were actually there. And so each Salu student was able to personally invite a teacher, and at the game, the teachers were recognized, which was a really neat experience. And so that's all I have for this month. If you have any questions or comments, feel free.
I do have a comment, and I want to recognize Nirali, actually, both when Speaker Ryan was here and also Senator Johnson. Actually, Nirali somehow got Speaker Ryan's ear early on and, introduced herself as a school board rep, and that was the connection that, Speaker Ryan, actually, he was his school board rep back when he was in high school, and kind of kept pointing out to Nirali. And what's, fascinating about Speaker Ryan is, while we all had name tags, I mean, he knew our names when he was kind of calling us out, and, but, you should be proud that Nirali is your board rep. It was interesting hearing Nirali when we had several students speak before Senator Johnson. And Nirali proudly mentioned that, she plans on going to University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is where her sister attends, and that she doesn't know what she plans on doing, and that's okay, right? So, we've got all these other kids that are, I'm going into engineering, I'm going to computer science, and Nirali just, I don't know what I want to do, and that's okay, right? But the great part about it is I think through our academic career planning process, Nirali's been able to kind of navigate through and kind of whittle and sift through kind of the options that she has, but not everybody is at that place, and that's okay. But anyway, congratulations, Nirali. Thank you for being, again, a great representative of this school board. And again, I think your efforts are paying off. Also want to let you know that your new Eisenhower rep, now that Caroline Seymour is off to Notre Dame, Taylor Pry will be here next week as the new rep for the next couple of years for Eisenhower. So, and Nirali and I interviewed her, and we think we got a good one, so.
Nirali, I was, waiting for Speaker Ryan to either adopt you or, because when we went up for that final picture, it was like, where's Nirali? Where's Nirali? She's got to get up here. So yeah, so you made a wonderful impression, and it's okay that you don't know what you want to do, because I pretty much believe you can do anything.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
I did want to, did want to mention just a brief update. We, as the board knows, that longtime employee Mary Jane Whitty, who was an employee of the district for 47 years, was honored today before all of our staff, on behalf of the board, and everybody else was recognized, and I thought it was great that she was honored, and she felt very special. It was great to have her there. And then again, a shout out to Katie Williams and the team over at Elmwood for being recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School. That's quite the accomplishment, and we're going to be sending some folks out to DC. We're going to be sending out a team to Washington, D.C., where they will be receiving their award, and that's quite exciting, so we'll be making sure that you get pictures. But as you may not know, Eisenhower is also a National Blue Ribbon School. I know Michael was there when we received that award, and then also the former Prospect Hill, which now has kids at Ronald Reagan, was a National Blue Ribbon School as well. So this would be the third National Blue Ribbon School recognized in the school district. But we're definitely very proud not only of Katie and her team, but all the work that's happening throughout the district. So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Next item is the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled out for separate consideration? Hearing none, do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Kurth, second by Mrs. Manley to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? And it passes unanimously. This takes us to our regular agenda, and we'll start with the student services update.
So as you know, Amanda Mazurkowitz is your new Director of Student Services who took over after long-term employee Dave Funk after his retirement last year. I'll have Amanda introduce herself and the rest of her team, and as they give you an update on the Student Services Department here in the school district.
Thanks, Joe. So as Superintendent Garza said, I'm Amanda Mazurkowitz, and I'm starting my sophomore year as your Director of Student Services. And I have with me this evening Monica Church, who is our Special Education Instructional Coach in our Student Services Department, and Lisa Brazelton, who is a Special Education Teacher at New Berlin West. And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about this evening some of the work that we're doing within the context of student services, but I really want to make sure that you guys understand that this work isn't done in isolation. So student services is a department or a fraction of the teaching and learning department. And the reason why I want to impress upon you that is because when we talk about the things that we're working on in student services, we would be remiss with thinking that it's just about special education, because we know that just working on things in isolation and special education isn't going to be enough to address the achievement gap, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about that tonight as well. So the two initiatives that you see up there in orange about developing inclusive and purposeful instructional strategies and then increasing student performance by 3% annually are two different projects and initiatives that are part of our multi-year strategic plan within the district. And the work that we're going to talk to you about tonight really fits in with and supports strategic goal number 1, which really is looking at making sure that all students, and all means all, are ready for what's to come post-secondary. And again, as I started to mention, and before I talk about this data a little bit, is we know that students with disabilities are afforded, because of their disability-related needs, very explicit instruction, specially designed instruction, and other special education programming because of their disability-related needs. But we know that that's not going to be enough, and it historically hasn't been enough to address this achievement gap that you're going to see in the next couple of slides. And the reason that I say that is not to be gloom and doom, but really actually a call to action for general education as well. And that's why I talk about the things that we're going to talk about tonight are not just about special education and student services. It's really the work of the teaching and learning department, because we know that just remediating for students' disability-related needs is not going to be enough to address the gap that you see on the screen. So this is some recent math data from fall of 2014 all the way through the current fall that you see here. And the color coding system is just, again, to kind of quick visually see where the most recent data is at. So when you see red, that means that there was a decline in the data from the previous term or from the previous administration of that data set. Green means that there was an improvement, and the orangish kind of yellow color means there wasn't enough of a spread or enough of a market improvement statistically in the data to say whether it was an increase or a decrease because it was so small. So again, you can see that there's some cause to celebrate. We have made some gains, particularly with the subgroup of students with disabilities at the secondary level. Still some more work to be done, both at elementary and secondary, but there has been showing some improvement recently at secondary. This data set I wanted to point out to you is because the previous data set just looked at students with disabilities, which is one of our subgroups. And it's important to look at our subgroup data because we know that in the very near future with state accountability, we're going to be measured particularly by the performance of our subgroups. And our three main subgroups that we often look at are English language learners, students with disabilities, and students of poverty. This screen talks about two different measures. So the top is your most recent administration of MAP, which the MAP window just closed about a week and a half ago. And the bottom set is forward data, and just from the last two administrations of that, because we know that when it was Smarter Balance and Badger, there wasn't a direct correlation. So we do have 2 years now of data with it being the forward. And so what you see is comparing in math and ELA, and then also in reading when it comes to MAP, students with disabilities and students without disabilities. So at the top is looking at our lowest performers. So the percentage of students who are scoring below the
So to address co-serving, we were able to bring a consultant named Peggy Black into our district this summer. She worked with a group of we strategically chose a group of teachers to focus on co-serving. So these teachers were selected K-12 by our administration to really learn from Peggy Black about what co-serving is. We will continue this work with Peggy Black throughout this school year. She'll be coming back and meeting with our teachers and helping us really understand how we can leverage co-planning to meet the needs of all of our students. The work this summer focused on roles, responsibilities, beliefs, and non-negotiables. And with her, we were able to develop a set of beliefs that our teachers and our administrators had input on. We know that beliefs drive our behaviors as teachers and leaders, and our behaviors are what are ultimately going to drive the results that our students make. So we focused heavily on how can we build beliefs that will really move this work forward. So up on the board and in the presentation, these are beliefs. Just take a few minutes to read through those. In addition to beliefs, we were able to develop non-negotiable practices. Our practices and our commitments are what are going to allow us to continue this work. Again, teachers and administration had input on what our non-negotiable practices are going forward.
So is that a list of items, or it's just more around this philosophy, the non-negotiables?
The non-negotiables is more around the philosophy, but it really is a list of things that all of us are committing to. Our teachers, our administration, our leaders are committing to these pieces.
So can that vary by school then? Is that how that works, or it's?
This was developed district-wide.
Okay.
So we're trying not to have it vary by school, but really be consistent with these non-negotiables. Now, how they look could slightly differ, but this is what we're committing to.
Thank you.
Amanda is going to present to you our next focus area on universal design for learning.
Yeah, and as Monica talked about, Ms. Manley, just to further your question too, because those beliefs and the non-negotiables were developed by administrators from across the district and building administrators, different leaders, like some of our coaches, as well as a wide sampling of teachers. That's why we feel confident that it's not just about the work of one building or another. This is our collective work in order to get this done. So universal design for learning is another part of, and that's a big part actually of our district action plan. And so though universal design for learning may have started in its origination, both in this district and then nationally, as something to help address and make more accessible learning for students with disabilities, it's much bigger than that. And so it's a scientifically research-based framework that's based on brain research, and that brain research really talks about learner variability, and that all learners come with inherent variability within their learning styles and their approaches to learning, but yet in studying the brain, there's some predictability in that variability, and it allows educators then to come up with what's the most effective framework for teaching and learning to help create a flexible environment and create instruction that's designed to meet the needs of a wide variety of learners on the forefront, so that you're having to spend less time differentiating on the backside for students. Universal Design for Learning is one of the frameworks, actually the framework, that's talked about in ESSA. So again, it's exciting that in New Berlin, this is something that for several years we've kind of dabbled in, and now we're creating a very strategic plan around it. And it also happens, like I said, to be in ESSA. I also wanted to point out that because we firmly believe in this, we also know that as leaders, so both district administrators, building administrators, and our literacy, numeracy, digital, and special education coaches that we have in the district, believe that in order for us to effectively support teachers in this work, we have to become more expert in it ourselves. And so we worked with Katie Novak, who is one of the nation's leaders, one of the gurus, as it were, on Universal Design for Learning, and we participated in a very rigorous 12-week course with Katie Novak over the summer in online learning modules. And she's also going to be working with our staff for the next couple of years, including coming and presenting to all staff in February. What I'm going to have you watch is a little snippet for if you don't have background knowledge in what UDL is. I'm going to let you learn about it in 50 seconds. So it's a very short clip. I'm going to cut it off at 50 seconds, even though the video goes about a minute, because it'll start to get into an ad about assistive technology. And that's
Hi, I'm Sandy, and as a teacher, my priority is to help my students grow. But everyone learns differently, and teaching just one way simply doesn't work. There are always a couple of students who struggle with learning. Realizing and eliminating these barriers is the basis of UDL. UDL stands for Universal Design for Learning. It provides a blueprint for creating goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone. UDL is broken up into 3 types of networks: recognition, strategic, and effective. Recognition is the what of learning. It's how we collect facts and categorize what we see, hear, and read. Strategic is the how of learning. It's not only planning and performing tasks, but also how we organize and express our ideas. And effective is the why of learning. This is how learners get engaged and stay motivated, how they are challenged, excited, or interested.
So again, in just about 50 seconds, I was right on there. You had a little bit of a snippet about what Universal Design for Learning is. Monica's going to walk through. Just kidding. Oh, there we go. She's going to walk through some other work that we're doing around behavior supports, and then we're going to finish up with Ms. Brazelton.
So our third area of focus is behavior supports. In order to provide our staff with more targeted professional development in behavior, we really wanted to focus on 3 areas. The first area is specially designed instruction. So we know that our students with disabilities who have disabilities in behavior often have specially designed instruction and behavior management within their IEPs. So one thing we wanted to look at is how effective is that instruction? And we developed a team of leaders led by me to go through action research this school year to ultimately develop a plan to recommend to staff on the most effective and best practices in behavior management. This team is going to be looking at research-based instructional practices. We're going to evaluate what we are currently doing in New Berlin. We're going to try out new strategies and then make a recommendation to staff. In addition to that, we are also providing instruction to staff on executive function. Students who struggle with behavior, whether they have a disability or not, often have difficulties with executive function. And executive function really encompasses our ability to use working memory, to organize, to plan, to demonstrate cognitive flexibility and control our emotions. So we are working as a district to provide more targeted information to our staff on what executive function is and how we can improve instruction in those areas to ultimately help all students. Another area of behavior supports that we are looking at is social and emotional supports. So this summer, a team of educators, myself included, went to an intensive 3-day training on the model called CERTS. And CERTS stands for Social Communication, Emotional Regulation, and Transactional Supports. And this team of educators learned about the CERTS model in a way to provide more targeted instruction to students that might have challenges with social communication and emotional regulation. This team is providing ongoing professional development within each building. So we had a representative from each building on the team, and they'll be providing more professional development to staff through the building level and then also through district-wide PL. So we are working really hard in providing our staff with the tools they need to provide instruction to our students that have behavioral challenges.
And with that, we're going to introduce Lisa Brazelton. Like I said, Lisa Brazelton, she works in what we call the Foundations Program. And so the Foundations Program, there's one at New Berlin West and one at New Berlin Eisenhower. And it's a program for students whose learning is aligned to alternate learning standards. So it's students that have the most significant cognitive disabilities in the district. It's often students that, particularly when you get to the secondary level, it becomes more challenging to create inclusive opportunities for them as the academic rigor of general education courses gets more difficult. And so Lisa's going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing at the secondary level to help support that.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come in here today. I ended up here because I'm so incredibly proud of all the wonderful things that are happening in this district, so much so that I just got ahead of myself and emailed Joe, and so Joe replied with, well, go ahead and tell everybody. I'm like, stop emailing. Well, what else? But there really are, there's so many incredible things happening. And for so very, very long, students who are often end up in my classroom are often, oh, those cute kids over there. We're the kids who are in that special classroom down the hall with the closed doors. We're the kids who our test scores don't end up on all those data reports. We're the kids who are doing the functional skills, doing all those different things separate from everybody else. And so to be part of all these wonderful changes that are happening here is just such an incredibly exciting time for not only for me, but for my students. And so many wonderful opportunities are happening for my students and all of the students in New Berlin who are being exposed to changes that are happening. And so I wanted to start, first of all, I had this whole thing planned in my head, and then I was sitting in PL today, and I was listening to Michael, and he started talking about how we need to be able to take the opportunity and face challenges and not be afraid to fail and to take the opportunities and to run with these. And I thought, you know, this is incredible because this is exactly what we're doing here in New Berlin. We are embracing changes, we are taking chances, we are facing the fear of failure, and we're making differences in the lives of children every day. And so many things are happening just because a single person is saying, you know what if? What if we try this? What if we try this? And then things just happen, and they're incredible. And so, you know, we just have a brief sampling here because I could go on all night, and I don't want to do that to you. So, you know, for example, this CCEE alignment, for example, we have the Common Core State Standards, and then we have, for my students, we have the Common Core Essential Elements Standards. And knowing that we were going to be looking at a more inclusive environment, we started thinking, you know, how are we going to make sure that their education is meaningful, that this continues to be something that we're not going to lose that instructional component as we move forward. And so we really looked at proficiency leveling, we looked at the state assessment that my students take, and then we started building out those Common Core Essential Elements standards. We started with just high school, because that's where I work. And we did ELA and math, and that grew to science, and then it grew to 7th through 12th grade. And now we have 3rd through 12th grade proficiency leveled Common Core Essential Elements for the district. That is now being built into rubrics across the district so that students, no matter what their disability, we're really purposefully looking at their instruction to make sure that they are getting the high quality instruction no matter what. It's amazing, wonderful things, and we should just really applaud educators across the board. To build on to that, though, what we're not seeing is the fact that our educators are leading in the state of Wisconsin with this. Nobody else is doing this. And we had a contingency of educators, we had principals, we had literacy coaches, we had teachers who all went to represent New Berlin to Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction last spring and assist DPI in proficiency leveling our Common Core Essential Elements for English Language Arts, because the state of Wisconsin now is wanting to do this proficiency leveling over again. So New Berlin is being critical component in making sure that this is happening for our students. And that's just an amazing, I have like goosebumps here. It's an amazing thing. In addition then, as we're looking at CCR, and we're looking at, again, we're not just talking now, okay, so these cute kids in the corner down, are they doing their functional skills? Are they making sure that they're putting widget A on top of widget B? No, we're really looking at that purposeful instruction and purposeful long-term post-secondary, and beyond that, not just those foundation students, we're talking all students. And so several teachers, I almost said students, sorry, several teachers, both from Eisenhower and from West, have been working purposefully with CISA representatives to make sure that transition planning is in place, and high quality transition planning is in place, as well as rubrics, as well as assessments, and making sure that things are really, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. Again, high quality for all of our students. And then another contingency of our staff members have been working with the Southeast Wisconsin Autism Society to look into making sure that our social, emotional regulation strategies, our sensory processing strategies are high quality and in place for our students with autism. And then we look into, as we're moving forward with all of these balls in the air and we're juggling all of these wonderful things, we're also then looking at that inclusive mindset and changing that mindset as a whole so that our teachers are aware and are looking at the fact that all students are valuable members of all classrooms. And it's kind of hard to see, but in this picture here, this is a young man. He's in a wheelchair. He's nonverbal. His mode of communication is to throw things or to pinch you. He's cute as a button. And he's in an art class. And that particular art teacher is adamant that she will do whatever she can to make sure that all students are participating in doing the same activity as all other students. And in this picture, that young man has got this weird wooden frame around him. And so they were trying to figure out how is it that this young man who always wants to pick things up and throw them, how can he participate in this painting activity that all of the other seventh graders are doing? And so they were talking, and one of the duo students actually suggested, well, maybe we can make something with the, one of the construction. Was it construction class? Yeah, in the construction class. So he went over and spoke to his construction teacher, and they worked together and they made this frame, and it's actually got some like ribbons connected to it so it holds stuff in place that he can manipulate the paints and the markers and what need happen so that this young man in the wheelchair can participate the exact same way as all of his peers are. And that particular art teacher's got all sorts of just amazing, wonderful things that she's been able to come up with, UDL in its finest. And in fact, that same tech ed department, when I was in a meeting with Monica, one of the other teachers came in because she has two of my students, and she was working so hard on trying to figure out how to make one of her assignments readable by my students, and she came in and she was all worked up because she didn't know if the symbol for if was correct. I thought, you're doing it, who cares? It's wonderful. And again, I could just, so many different types of things I could hand out to you to give you different examples, and I could just keep going all night and I won't keep up your time, but I really felt it was important that you guys see kind of the backstory, because I think you keep seeing all the different end products and all the different numbers, and we really needed to see what's going on behind the scenes so that you could see as much of the wonder as we are able to. So thank you for giving me a couple minutes. I really appreciate it. I did want to share one last This is my current favorite quote right now, because this is what's happening in the school district of New Berlin. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of this time frame. Thank you.
With that, does the board have any questions for us?
Obviously, we've got a lot of passionate people, staff that are.
Thank you for your enthusiasm and your passion. That makes a difference. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Very nice.
Next item is going to be the employee services update.
Yeah, so we'll have our Director of Employment Services, Nicole Jones, provide basically an update on our staffing, some things that we've been working on over the course of the last several years, and kind of give you a status update.
So tonight we're going to be going through our staffing update, which is kind of reflection of all the work that we've done over this past summer and this past year around recruiting and retention. As we know, strategic goal number 2 for the district involves our ability to attract and retain high-quality staff so that our students have the very best folk in front of them each and every year. So this year, we have a celebration. We had the fewest voluntary resignations in the district this past summer since 2011-2012. Yay. Just to put it in some perspective, we've been averaging around 35, and it's ranged from upwards of 35 since Post-Act 10. So this is the lowest number of resignations we've had. So we're very excited about that. This year we had approximately 13 staff members go to another district for a variety of reasons. I think traditionally in the past we've seen a lot of it being very monetarily focused. With this year, it was more leadership. There was still some, focused on money, but then others were moving because of a kind of a work-life balance issue. My kids go to that district, so it's easier for me to drop off and pick up. So we saw a little bit of that as well. We had other staff leave to raise family, their spouse, lots of spouse relocations, and a couple career changes. Overall, and it sounds like a large number, we had 89 years of experience that exited. But the average years of experience among those folks that left was about 3 years with our district. Then if we compare that to our new hires that we brought on for this summer, our new hires bring on with them 138 years of experience, so significantly higher than what left. Most of them have around 5 years of teaching experience or more that they're bringing into the district. And then the FIT score is something new for this year. We adopted a new hiring platform, and with that, we are using a new assessment as one of the tools that we're using to screen candidates. So it's called a FIT score, and we can use it with our educational staff as well as our classifieds or support staff. The FIT score is on a scale of 1 to 9, and they say that you want around a 5 or better with anyone that you're hiring. So our average FIT score for those that we brought on was above a 5, so we're happy about that as well. Of course, we haven't used this assessment yet, so we'll have to compare it to our own data as well, but it is a nationally normed FIT assessment that's routinely updated through feedback of this new system. For our 2016-17 hiring process, we were very excited about being able to increase the efficiency of our process. We took a deep dive into our current system this past year, looking at where we were getting hung up. We knew that our hiring process was a little on the slow side, and we wanted to be able to get out ahead of our competing districts so that we were bringing in the best people early and more quickly than our competitors. So we took a look at that with a group of teachers and administrators, and we decided on a new hiring platform, and with that came those new assessments. Our hiring system is now fully electronic. We've gotten rid of the paperwork, the hard copies that were exchanged between offices could potentially get lost. The new hiring platform is very accessible. We can communicate very easily with our applicants, and our principals are able to see what's going on through the hiring process in real time. So, did we do a background check? Are we doing reference checks? Where are we in the hiring process? Even even, I guess, better, that I was even more excited about in terms of increasing efficiency, is that we brought on video screening interviews. So there's a handful of districts in the area that have been using these, and more private companies are going with video screening interviews. So typically, we've had to get principals together and anybody else who wants to be part of that first round interview into a room at the same time and schedule it at a time when it's convenient for our candidates. So that was taking us extra time just to schedule that common time for those interviews. What the video screening does is any candidates that we're interested in, we send them a video interview with the same screening questions that we've always been using, but they videotape themselves responding to the questions. And they get a couple tries to do it if they need to start or reset themselves. But for the most part, it's very flexible. So our principals can watch those video interviews on their time. So they can do it after school hours, they can do it while they're kind of doing laps around the building, but they can watch that as they come in, rather than trying to schedule that one time. And it's also more convenient for our interviewees. We have people that apply from Minnesota and Illinois, and what a bummer if you drive 2 hours for a 20-minute interview, that just doesn't pan out. The response rate from our candidates, it was 85% positive. So we were really excited about introducing that process as a way to expedite our hiring. And realistically, we were turning around certain candidates in a week. We were bringing people on, sometimes 2 weeks, which is far different than the 3 to 4 weeks that it was taking us under the old system. So we're really excited about that. So some other strategies as far as our retention strategy is concerned. So here I've got side by side. This is data, kind of some tidbits that I pulled out of our stay interview data that we conducted this past spring, next to research that was shared with the board this past spring as well, I think back in February or March, about research from Manpower Group about reasons why millennials stay. So our staff, probably their top strength that they cite for the district is our awesome students and families. Our staff is just thrilled with the families that they get to serve here in the district. Their clear vision came out a lot, which was really exciting. That was new this year in our stay interview data. So they're seeing that the district is better communicating the vision, where we're headed, our strategic goals, and our planning. They're citing support for their growth. So the professional development has been going well. This year we introduced more flexibility with that, more voice and choice. And then collaboration with colleagues, willingness to adapt and change. This is a really interesting one because this is going to come up again. But our staff is excited that we are adapting to meet our different students' needs across the district, and that we're trying to keep up with how our students are changing, how the technology is changing. That's really exciting to them.
I think we just heard it first person from.
Definitely. So, and they're also citing that they're getting a lot of support from their building leadership and from district leadership. And so I put that next to reasons millennials stay because I think we're doing a good job of kind of giving our staff challenges, working on those promotional pieces, and also making sure that we're supporting them in the work that they're doing. Our one-to-one mentor program started this, I think we're in our third year this year, where we used to have one mentor for all the teachers in the district. We've moved to a model where they have a mentor with them in their building. And as a result, we've seen our retention rates of our new staff that are part of the mentor program has increased from 53% to 84%. And we're also increasing their educator effectiveness score. So we want all of our educators for their evaluation to score at least a 3 to be considered what's considered proficient. So we're seeing that score go from below 3 to above 3, which we're very excited about. It's on a scale of 1 to 4. And then this was our first year that we rolled out our professional portfolio. So we had 47 submissions for our professional portfolio this year to receive strategic compensation. 34 of those educators that submitted did qualify for strategic compensation. And the staff that participated in the process, it was largely positive. They reported their ability, or this process helped them reflect more on what they were doing in the classroom, helped them think of more things that they could be doing, how to change up their own instruction. But generally, they appreciate the reflective quality of this process and the feedback that they received. So we're excited to continue working it. Tonight, I just ran a portfolio session before I came here, and I'd say everybody left with smiles on their faces, which is always good, and a good understanding of the process. So it's going well. And then we have other opportunities for strategic compensation that we rolled out as part of our comp model last year, which encouraging our teachers to earn their reading certification, as reading is a goal in every single one of our buildings. Earning master's degrees in their content area. The research supports that teachers are stronger in the classroom if they have a master's in their content area, so master's in science, math, reading, and so on. It also benefits our dual enrollment program, which means that more of our teachers, if they have a master's in their content area at the secondary level, can teach college credit-bearing courses. And it saves us from having to hire more expensive teachers from WCTC, MATC, and that sort of thing. And then we're continuing to look at leadership opportunities for our staff, leadership opportunities that we hope will keep our teachers in the classroom, but also give them a chance to dabble in some leadership roles beyond the classroom, whether it's mentoring, coaching, or something along those lines. So then moving into 2017, some areas where we do want to focus, and again, I'm putting back up this top reasons millennials stay, because now on the left you're going to see the challenges that our staff cited in their stay interviews, and you can kind of see where they align to the reasons millennials stay, or I guess on the opposite, leave. So work-life balance continues to be a struggle, and we've heard that over the last several years. It continues to be a struggle in all school districts, and I think you're hearing a lot about it even in the private sector, that need for work-life balance. I think to a certain degree, you know, those teachers who are looking to work in a district where their kids also go, that plays a big part in it. We have a lot of young teachers, and they want to make sure that they can still get their kids off to school or pick them up, but also do their job effectively. So that, as you can see, aligns to reasons why millennials stay. It's one of those pieces where we have a little bit of a control of it, but it's also the nature of working a professional level job in America. So we'll continue to examine that. Pace of changes. I mentioned that this was going to come up again. They love that we're adapting to change. They also cite pace of changes as being a challenge. So how can we best support our teachers to manage, how do we build up their capacity to be able to manage all of these changes, and how do we strategically roll that out? And I think that's where, again, the clear vision comes in, the work of our teaching and learning department as well, being able to show our staff a 3-year plan and where we're going to be at year over year. There's a lot of transparency now in the plans that we're rolling out, and I think we're going to see less of that comment about the paces of changes, because they're going to understand better how it all rolls together and how it's going to come to them. Recognition is a challenge. So we know recognition from managers are reasons why people stay. We need to continue to do more of recognitions. It's come up at the board meetings as well. How do we make sure that our staff, our students are receiving recognitions for the great things that they're doing in the schools? They would like more time to collaborate. We're continuing to address that with our professional learning. So today, and even at the start of the school, we made sure that our teachers have time to work with each other across district and to collaborate in their teams. And then communication. We can always get better at our communication. So that will likely be a common theme on future interviews as well. So we want to work on increasing the means of staff recognitions. We're looking at more digital signage in our staff lounges as one of those means. So if we can through that digital signage, throw out some shout outs to our staff, recognize the great works and things that are going on in the district, and that kind of just flashes throughout the day. Intranet stories. We just launched our intranet last week. So every time that a teacher opens up their Chrome browser on their computer, it's going to flash with our intranet, and the front page of that is news you can use, and usually it's featuring some cool things that our teachers or our staff members are doing right now. I think it has our principal, Matt Stepneski, kissing goats, but that's pretty awesome, right? So we'll be continuing to update those stories and share those out, as well as give them tools that they can use. We also started doing more board recognitions of our staff. So at the last board meeting, we recognized 2 staff members, and we want to continue to build up what does that look like when we recognize our staff at the board, and how can we get more of those going. And then digital recognition apps or tools. So if we look at some of the private sector companies, there's some messaging apps and the like, some social media type apps where you can kind of send shout outs to one another through those tools. So we're exploring them. May or may not be an option, or how do we adapt it to make it something affordable that we can just do on our own. We also want to continue to be responsive to our staff needs. So increasing collaboration time, that was something that we made sure that we were building in again with our professional learning days, as well as in buildings. We're continuing to personalize learning, offering more flexibility in terms of their professional learning. Do they want to research something? Are they engaged in a book study? Increasing feedback. Our teachers want our principals in the classroom to observe more often, and they want to hear more from them. They want more visits. They want to see people in the hallway more often. They're not afraid of people coming into their classroom. They're really excited about it. So how do we make that manageable for our building leaders who have a lot of things going on day to day, while also addressing the need of our staff to desire feedback and to help them grow? And then frequency and form of communication. So we will continue our monthly staff connection newsletter. We just introduced the intranet, increasing digital signage and those types of announcements, and continuing our exit interviews, our stay interviews, our culture surveys. And I just wanted to share some of this data. So this isn't district specific, but this is from MRA, which is the Management Association. They operate out of the Midwest, and they do a lot of work to support businesses in their HR and other business operations. So they did a pay trend study this past year. They do it each year. And these are some things that they found, and their pay trend study includes public, private sector, and nonprofit groups. So it's kind of a snapshot, and I thought, you know, this really does feed into a lot of the things that we are facing as a public school district and other districts around the state are also dealing with. So, lack of qualified candidates. We know there's a teacher shortage. So how do we address that shortage? How do we attract more young people to teaching in the first place? New Berlin's doing a great thing by building up that educator pipeline through our education classes that we're now offering, and a chance for students to experience what teaching might be like for them before they even hit college to begin exploring it. Market competition and high demand. We know that it's very competitive here because there is a teacher shortage. So we do have competing districts. And how do we brand ourselves to be more appealing than those other districts? And then candidates are looking for more pay than we can offer. So again, private sector, public sector, nonprofit, that's an issue across the board, and especially in public sector, where you are offering off of a limited budget. You might put out a great product, but it doesn't mean you're going to make more money as a result. So how do we work within our means? And then candidates are most of them are looking for good pay, benefits, work-life balance, opportunities for advancement, and flexibility. So the challenges that are in private sector are also in public sector, and we're seeing a lot of parallels. We're seeing this as a nation across the Midwest and in our own state. So some things for us to consider moving forward. Questions?
I just have a couple questions. Do we try to attract people outside the state of Wisconsin?
Mm-hmm. What was nice about our new hiring platform, and we just kind of got going with it this year, is that unlike the previous platforms we've used in the past, this one now has a free link to what's called K-12 JobSpot, which is a national teacher job site. So we are seeing more applicants from it mostly hits the Midwest, but we have seen people relocate as a result and that are moving, that are looking for jobs in Wisconsin. That's one way that we're able to expand outside the state. The next step to exploring might be going to some job fairs, in different states and kind of putting our name out there. How do we start branding that? One of the things that I'll probably bring up in a future meeting is, looking at text marketing and how do we get our brand out to the masses? And text marketing, text to apply or text to view more. Can we look at some of those options to increase who we're tapping into as a resource? And then social media, of course, is another venue, LinkedIn, Facebook, that we're doing job postings on.
Excellent. And then when you were talking about the shout outs, which I think is just amazing, right? To not lose those opportunities of
Right.
sharing the good. But, maybe look at incorporating parents doing shout outs in some
That would be awesome.
formality.
I think our staff would love that.
Yeah, that would be great from a parent
Yeah.
perspective as well, to be able to do that.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good.
Any other questions? Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. Great job.
Love the results. That's amazing.
We're going in the right direction. Next item on the agenda is to discuss with possible approval of school board meeting dates for 2018.
So really, annually, we ask the board to make sure that the dates that we're proposing are the dates that you want. Per policy, you were to have typically 2 meetings a month, and the second and fourth Mondays of the month, with obviously some exceptions due to spring break, due to Memorial Day, due to the fact that we only have 1 meeting in June because things are a little slower in the summer, and then obviously winter break in December. So we would propose that you stick with what you've been doing. Otherwise, we'll have to revisit your board policy.
Would entertain a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the school board meeting dates for 2018.
We have a motion by Mr. Kugler, second by Mr. Kurth to approve the board meeting dates for 2018. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Rowley, will these work for you too?
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This motion passes unanimously. There are no action items on anything discussed in closed session. So the next item is future meetings and dates. Next board meeting will be October 23rd. And then on Friday, November 10th at 9 a.m., and I'm sure there'll be more emails and things going out about this, this will be the Veterans Day program at the West Fieldhouse. I encourage every board member to be there. Board meeting will happen on November 13th and November 27th. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kurth, second by Mrs. Manley. To adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.